Training parents who are willing. We need to look at allowing parents who are willing to volunteer to train them. We need to look at calling the principals who have been retired and retrain them. We have principals. We have people who are willing to volunteer to come and help. We need to have policies that takes care of volunteers. Yes. Besides, we need to look at providing timely, professional, and effective feedback for all principals and stakeholders. Now, educational leaders and principals must know that they are valued, not only by how executive lead or how they feel. They want to be valued also by giving principals the freedom, the autonomy to express both formally and informally. They also need to express how they are feeling and how they feel that they're being valued, how they want to be valued, specifically as they navigate crises that are unprecedented like COVID-19 and Melissa. These are two crises that we would say are unprecedented crises, one global and one local, directly sent to Jamaica. So with no prior vision or timely planning or framework to guide and support our executive leaders, our lower level leaders, we will have serious problems in our educational system. During the COVID-19 crisis, there were no framework. But if as a nation we have plan A, plan B, plan C, if we were crisis ready, if we are planning not rigidly but flexibly, if we're planning the right way, then when the time of crisis come, we can move from one plan to plan A, from plan A to plan B, from plan B to plan C. Furthermore, the author of this study argued that principals were aware that they must be aware, all principals must be aware in Jamaica that they have a voice. Or principals in Jamaica must be aware that, especially in the inner city school, that they not only have a voice in leading our nation's educational system, but they have a voice as it relates to being supported, as it relates to being valued, as it relates to be visionaries and being trained, being heard, being respected. Hence, we must empower all our leaders as well as the teaching and learning process. Finally, the author of this study shared that it was observed that there were gaps in leadership. And we shared this already. We spoke about the infant level, that most of the gaps were aligned to the infant level. This affects the quality of leadership. And where there is no high quality leadership or just quality leadership, then we have no education of any quality. Our education system will not be one of high quality. We need high quality leaders. So as we navigate the implications, as we explore and unpack these problems, as we go through we looked at and reflect at the COVID-19 crisis, we're reflecting at Melissa, looking at Melissa. These are two crises, one global, one local. As we reflect at the implications for policy, not just for policy, but for practice, not just for policy and practice, but for theory. What are the implications for theory, as well as for Jamaica's Vision 2030? We must pay attention to our educational leaders who volunteered to be a part of this study. We must find ways to encourage more educational leaders to volunteer, to share their expertise. So the author looked at 2030, for example, and the question that was brought forth was, why does P3, an infant principal, why is it that P3, an infant principal, have access to NCEL's program But on the other hand, P4 and P5, who are both infant principals, they were rejected twice. So P4 was rejected twice from being a part of the NCEL program, while P5 wanted to be a part of NCEL's program, but did not know about NCEL. Yes. Hence, the author of this study is sharing that NCEL's program lacks inclusion. NCEL's program has revealed inequity and discrimination based on these evidence shared by the principals in the infant level of education, or at the infant level of education. Thus, these practices will have negative implications for Jamaica's education, not only during a crisis, but before, during, and beyond any crisis. Are we a crisis-ready nation? Is our educational system crisis-ready? And if not, why not? So the author is recommending that the policy and the practice, as well as Jamaica's Vision 2030, specifically as we are currently trying to navigate and as we reflect, not currently, but as we reflect on the COVID-19 crisis, as we reflect on the unprecedented Melissa hurricane, as we reflect on these crises, as we transition, as we look at the aftermath of Melissa, as we try to navigate and reflect on COVID-19, to look at the lessons learned. The author of this study is recommending that the Ministry of Education must seek to be fully aligned with the Global Sustainable Development Goals, SDG 4, ensuring that their policies are amended to promote full inclusion in NCEL's program and other programs or agency of the Ministry of Education, bearing in mind that there must be no inequities, there's no room for inequities, and there are no room for discriminations. The author of this study is recommending that the Ministry of Education promote equity in the distribution of resources, physical and natural, at all levels of Jamaica's educational system. Besides, the author is suggesting that more priority be placed on the infant level of education, as mentioned before. The foundation of education specifically seems to have the greatest need and lack of support even before the current COVID-19, not current, but the past COVID-19 crisis. And as we navigate and reflect on Melissa, the Hurricane Melissa, and the implication for Jamaica's educational system that has not fully come back or is not fully back to normal from COVID-19 crisis. How ready? The question is, how ready are we for Vision 2030? And if not, why not? What support do we need as a nation? Or do we need support? We cannot get help if we do not acknowledge that we need help. So, as the nation navigates the past pandemic, according to UNESCO 2020, UNESCO 2018b, the author is recommending that similar studies to this study be conducted in all the various regions of the Ministry of Education. And I'll say this again, that the author of this study is recommending that similar studies to this one be conducted in all the various regions of the Ministry of Education, at all the educational levels, including the technical and the tertiary levels, to explore other results that could be similar to the SU 457 theory or different based on the time the researcher. So they're looking at this research and the theory that emerged from this research, the SU 457 theory, the S for smart, the U for unique, the other U for usable. So the author is saying that the theory that emerged from this research is not only smart, but this theory is unique. This theory is not only smart and unique, but the theory is usable. SU 457 theory. The 4 stands for the 4 pillars. The 5 stands for the 5 columns. And the 7 stands for the 7 columns. So as you go and read, you will learn more about SU 457 theory. Now we're looking at the difference based on the time. So the author is recommending that similar studies be done to explore other results that may be different from SU 457 theory, or these studies that must be conducted or should be conducted may come up with different findings based on the time and based on the researcher's background and the context that could overwhelm. So not only the researcher's background, but the researcher's context, the experiences of the researcher, and also the fact that these experiences could be overwhelming for educational leaders, and the experiences of educational leaders that were overwhelming during the crisis, and also for principals trying to navigate, trying to lead during the teaching and learning process during the COVID-19 crisis. So the author recommends that further studies explore, support the TLP, the teaching and learning process, and provide support for the teaching and learning process coming from the school board also, and other major stakeholders in all regions of the Ministry of Education, especially in the rural areas. So the author is recommending further studies in the rural areas of Jamaica. The author is recommending that the Ministry of Education and the principals at all levels of the educational system conduct detailed. So the author is asking for detailed assessment, not only detailed assessment, but detailed evaluation of the influence of the current COVID-19 pandemic on Jamaica's Vision 2030. Not only the current, the past COVID-19 crisis, but also the past Hurricane Melissa. So we're looking at the fact that these crises must be assessed and evaluated in detail to see the implication for Jamaica's Vision 2030. In all its regions, a report must be given of all the levels, from the at the executive level, at the tactical level, at the operational levels. Also, detailed assessment using similar tools was used in the study to assess the 3 levels: the infant, the primary, and the secondary, including the tertiary and technical institutions beyond March 2020. The author recommends online and face-to-face training at the strategic level, the tactical level, and the operational level. In any crisis, there must be strategies ready to be implemented online. Also, the author recommends that the further continuation of the building of the capacity of all educational leaders as we transition from a traditional model to one that is vision-based. So the need for more support and motivation, discrimination, less discrimination. So the need for more support and motivation. Saying no to discrimination, saying no to inequity, and saying no to lack of inclusion is a must. The need for effective consultation, getting rid of ineffective consultation. The need to pay keen attention to the creator's role in Jamaica's educational system. The need to look at a community-based business and inner city crisis. Community-based business and inner city crisis as researchers' role and background. So the need to look at the creator's role, the community, and the business and inner city roles. So we have come to the end at this time. We have come to the end, and we will continue as we look at the researcher's role and the background in the next section of this interesting, deep, and inciting report of the author of this research. Thank you very much. So stay with us as we unpack the next section. Thank you very much. Have a blessed day.